Welcome to the high-level overview of Ooma POTSTracker. Ooma POTSTracker is an AI tool that we created to help our partners identify market opportunities, whether it's their existing base or whether it's for targeting new prospects. This tool scrapes all of the discontinuance filings that have been submitted to the FCC by the large incumbents, like AT&T as an example. We bring all the data into the tool so that we can give graphical representation of where these events are occurring. This will allow you to have conversations and education tracks with your client base and/or prospects. Historically, there was no central repository for partners to be able to go to identify where these discontinuances were occurring. In this high-level overview, we'll cover a couple of the tabs: dashboard, risk, filing analytics, pricing, phone lookup, audit, AI insights, other content, and for fun, a game. While we'll touch on all of these tabs, we're going to stay focused on the dashboard primarily. The dashboard is the view you see when you first log into POTSTracker. At the top, you'll notice some data points in which you can have conversations. For example, the total discontinuance filings that are presented to the FCC that we have scraped is well over 1,400. Across 57 carriers, affecting 38 states, with 1,400 plus in future dates where these discontinuance filings can go into effect. Along with some filtering to narrow down the information, you can look at the overall events that have been submitted month by month throughout the year. Now these, what you're looking at here from an events by authorization month, these are when the wireline centers can actually be authorized to shut down. So if we look at April of 2026, there are pending 76 events. May, a few more. June, a few more. And then November, we see a large increase where there's well over 1,100 filings to discontinue wireline centers. It is worth noting, for a little bit of background, this November date is reflective of AT&T's first foray into shutting down a large segment of wireline centers by November of 2026, really highlighting the momentum of POTS discontinuance. AT&T has actually announced that by the end of 2029, they want to shutter all of their wireline centers, effectively saving $6 billion in operational costs annually. Moving on, we see the overall top states that are affected by these discontinuance filings: Alaska, Michigan, Texas as examples. And then moving over to the next box, if you will, is the carriers that have been submitting these filings grouped by their parents, like AT&T. So AT&T, CenturyLink, Consolidated. You can click on these and expand them, and then you can kind of look at just at the AT&T filings. Or again, you can look at individuals. Scrolling down, you can have a geographic distribution of the density of these filings. Now, there are two types of filings that we're trying to track: discontinuance filings, where they're shutting the wireline centers down, or service restrictions, where maybe they're going to be impacting the routing and delivery of telecommunication calls through those centers. So looking at North America, for example, you can see that in blue, it's a low density, meaning there's only been a couple filings. We'll see this obviously increase as the months come along, but you can look at the other colors and get a general idea of medium or high density. Texas, Michigan typically have high density locations. You can expand this out. You can filter it by the individual states. You can narrow it down into the cities and how many is affected. Gives you a nice idea of where these impacts are occurring. Coming down, you can actually enter an address to a potential location to cross-reference it against any of the filings to actually see if that location could be affected. Coming down a little further, you have access to watch lists. And I'm going to pause here for a moment because watch lists is probably the most powerful aspect of this tool. So I'm going to scroll down and talk about some of the others, and we'll come back to watch lists in just a moment. Down further below, we see a list of all the filings. This allows you to have access to the data, to have those pertinent conversations, to be credible in those conversations. So all filings sorted by the carrier, or you can sort them by the wireline centers, the dockets, the dates, states, etc. What I mean by actually pulling the hard data is you can actually click on the FCC document. This is the document itself that has actually been submitted to the FCC. That's the physical filing. and you can actually present that to your customer. Now let's go back to watch lists. As I'd mentioned, I think this is the most powerful aspect of the tool. Watch lists allow you to protect your base, plan for migration, and procure new clients. And how this is done is by uploading lists, whether it's your current client base or whether it's lists maybe you're targeting into a geographic region, or potentially uploading a distributed environment where you're trying to figure out where you want to start your migration. Come to here, you can add a location, you can add it manually, or you can upload a file, an Excel spreadsheet in a certain format, name, city, state address, etc. Very simple to do. Just choose the file, import it, and now your watch list will be populated. And what you'll notice by the watch list is that I can see which filings or which locations cross-reference against those filings to indicate that I have a potential impact and I need to have those conversations. Naturally, I can sort this so that I can see which one is the more urgent one that I need to address and which one I have time to. This is what I mean by when I say protect, plan, and procure. By uploading your current list of clients by addresses, you can protect them by being able to identify if any of them have been impacted, therefore giving you the opportunity to set up an EBR, an executive business review, to educate and have that conversation on planning. If you've already sold an opportunity with Ooma, when we're using this tool internally for ourselves, if you upload a distributed environment and you're trying to identify where to start the migration, this tool is very effective in that way from a planning perspective. And then again, procurement, I can go ahead and I've already identified certain cities that are going to be impacted by these filings. For example, Troy, Nashville, Sugarloaf. If I go to an AI engine and put in one of those towns and say, give me a list of all businesses in a format, that in a spreadsheet format that I can upload, you can have it downloaded and you can upload it in here into watch list. And this gives your BDR team the capability to do an outreach to drive new prospects, new logos. I think you can see why I think the watch list is the most powerful aspect of the tool. Now, covering quickly some of these other tabs, let's look at the risk assessment. This is beautiful in the standpoint if you're uploading that list of clients, you can do a risk assessment to identify which of them might have the impacts. How critical is it? Is it low risk, high risk? For example, here, Kahara Volleyball Center, is it critical? We need to understand what that may be. But it gives me the opportunity to have those conversations. Filing analytics actually gives you support in the conversation, whether it's with your prospects or existing base. We know back in 2019, when it was announced the FCC would move forward, in essence, deregulating this side of the industry, that there was a lot of noise and a lot of conversations occurring about how quickly people need to replace their POTS line. And it wasn't necessarily true. So people become numb to it. But you can see here with the supporting data, just a couple years ago, there was only a handful of filings. Picked up in 2025, but look at what happened in 2026. We're already in the first quarter seeing well over 1,700 discontinuance or service restriction filings that have occurred. This highlights the need for us to educate the market on what is occurring so that their client base is not affected or impacted. It's worth noting that if AT&T has announced that they're going to shutter all of their wireline centers by the end of 2029, we can make the safe assumption the other incumbents will be right behind them. So if we looked at 2030 as the drop dead date, then we need to migrate over 9,000 lines every business day between now and then. You do not want to wait to pull the trigger to do your migration. Now is the time to do the planning and identify the solution. Coming over to the pricing tab, it's a nice little aspect of the tool where partners can upload POTS or analog line data to identify what the overall average cost is across their base. By uploading it, you can identify the carrier, you can identify the cost structure, and again, you're being able to generate reports or talk tracks on what the overall average is. We can do the current rates, community pricing, your submissions, and basically the stated versus what is actually effective. Looking at the phone lookup tab, and this is also another aspect of the tool that I think could be very powerful. If you're not sure with your prospect or again with your client about whether or not they're affected, but do not want to take the time to upload a full list, you can put in their phone numbers, the full numbers, or even just the NPA NXX, area code and zip code. Another nice tool is the phone lookup. You can take a prospect or your customer's phone number and you can enter it here. You can place either the full number or just the NPA NXX. That's the area code and prefix. By putting in this number, again, you're cross-referencing against any of the filings. Please note and understand that phone numbers are associated with rate centers, not necessarily tied to a specific wireline center. However, phone numbers do route through wireline centers, and that's why they may be affected. Also understand, even like taking AT&T as an example, AT&T may be shutting down wireline centers. That does not mean it only affects AT&T phone numbers. There might be other carriers that transverse through that center. For example, mobile phones, Verizon, other carriers. So keep that in mind. Moving over to the audit tool. This is a great little tool if you're a telecom expense management company or have that function within your organization. If you're managing POTS lines or other types of hardware for your client, you can upload all of that information here. You can export it, and more importantly, you can run an audit, which again cross-references against those discontinuation notices. The AI Insights tool is new and something we just recently released into POTSTracker. You can actually connect your AI engine, leveraging your API keys through either ChatGPT, Gemini, or Claude into POTSTracker, where again you can make the seamless transition of generating data through your AI engine. The other content tab is all the supporting information about what is happening with Section 214 and the discontinuance of these copper lines. You can access all of the different supporting articles, information, and whatnot. And then for fun, we actually included a little game. So we were very interested in seeing how you do. It's AirDial versus the Copper Monsters. So go ahead and enter your name. Have a little bit of fun during your coffee break. Enjoy it. We'll see what kind of score you get. And hopefully you end up at the top. I'm sure you will. If you have any questions, please reach out to your channel manager or your account executive supporting your organization.